Foot Clan, I suffered a heartbreaking defeat last night, and, well, I'll tell you the tale. And we've also got a lot of waiver wire insights to share with you guys to pick up. There's been some brutal injuries. This is a can't-miss episode. Make sure you subscribe.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Oh, welcome in. Tuesday, September 19th, waiver day, and a whole lot more here on the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Jason Moore is here. Mike Wright, present, accounted for. I'm Andy Holloway. And here we go. Yeah. Tons to talk about.
Yeah.
We have injuries. Injuries are bad. Let me start with that.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I don't like them. I wish they didn't happen. Football is absolutely brutal.
It's been really brutal this year.
Yeah, it has. And last night, lost one of the most enjoyable players to watch. One of the best dudes in football. The Nick Chubb injury was not one for the squeamish.
I have not clicked all of the links. I have not seen it because I have been told that it is
it's
one that you don't want to watch.
It's pretty intense, and I'm going to commend the NFL for this because we've seen too many times where a player suffers like a catastrophic injury and they just keep showing it, and you're like, okay, man, we got it.
He's not playing tonight. We get it.
But last night was the first time I can remember where the announcers they called out like, okay, the booth is telling us this is a nasty injury. We don't even need to show you. So like, I commend them for that. And then you heard the reaction of the home crowd because they clearly played the replay for them, and there was the entire stadium went, oh
yeah, it was so
that's when you knew. If you don't need to see it, but it's
bad,
catastrophic. It's the same knee that he completely destroyed back at Georgia. We don't have all the details of what exactly happened, but Stefanski has come out and said, yeah, he's going to be gone.
Yeah, I mean, multiple ligaments and
that's what we're expecting.
And everything in between. So we'll start there with the Monday night recap. Nick Chubb out for the season. Jerome Ford going to be a big discussion today on the waiver show.
Yeah.
Ended up 16 for 106. Chubb was on his way to a big game, had a couple of impressive runs. Deshaun Watson.
Yikes.
This is so well, let me put it this way. Doesn't look like the same player he was in Houston as of right now. It's confusing because, everybody wants to know what to do with Deshaun Watson in fantasy. He's not going to have Nick Chubb the rest of the season, which is a huge benefit to you as a quarterback. That being said, some of his secret sauce is the running game. He was the quarterback 5 in week 1 because I looked at the numbers for last night. Awful night.
Yeah.
The best way it looked to me like he's just got the wrong software installed. I mean, he's not the same player. He had the egregious personal foul penalties, pushing a referee. He could be suspended. This was a horrific performance. Some may want to attribute it to the pass rush, the Pittsburgh defense, which was outstanding. I don't think Deshaun Watson looks like the same player. I have him in a couple of leagues. I made waiver claim choices this morning, some of them to drop Watson entirely, some of them to bench him and play somebody else. 22 for 40, 235, one pick, one bad fumble, one touchdown.
And a lot of just bad passes. Sometimes you look at the box score and you say, oh, he had a bad game, and sometimes you watch the film and you go, ugh, what are you doing? Like, It just seems like he's not seeing the field like you would hope he is, and he's not throwing the ball as well as he should. Reminds me a lot of last year's Russell Wilson, where you watch the game and every now and then there's like a good play and you go, oh okay, yeah. He's still got it, but then most of the plays just seem off.
They do, and Kevin Stefanski is not the type of head coach in offense that benefits quarterback passing numbers either. If you remember his one season with Kirk Cousins, Cousins was bad. I mean, like, this doesn't look like the kind of offense that they're going to just suddenly, Watson's going to be a 300, 400-yard passer. They're going to still lean on the running game. We don't know if they're going to add another body, but it was just a really disheartening performance from Watson, and this team gave the game away in a lot of respects. The defense for Cleveland, believe they gave up 1 touchdown, the Pickens play, 2 field goals. That was it, and they lost because of the pick six and the fumble recovery. So moving forward,
I will say, I mean, Watson looked bad, but he does have Tennessee and Baltimore at home the next 2 weeks.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, it could,
like if you're still holding on for fantasy football, I get it, but I'm glad you brought it up because I wanted to talk about it real quick. Of a suspension is possible. If you didn't see the play, there was the hullabaloo and the ruckus as Deshaun Watson's running out of bounds, and Watson starts chirping, and you go, oh, and you see the flag go. You go, okay, well, the defender did the normal bull crap where they got a late hit on a quarterback who's out of bounds. Stupid. You can't do that. And as the fight is kind of being broken up, Watson tries to push his way through a referee. I could not believe that they didn't throw him out right there. Like, players get thrown out for far less touching
tossed
of
a referee to the side.
Yeah, like players get thrown out just for barely touching a ref. And I thought, okay, well, this ref's giving him the benefit of the doubt because he got a cheap shot on the outside. And then you see the replay. No, it was Watson who grabbed a dude by his face mask and threw him down. And then he wanted to fight and go through the ref. So the fact that they didn't eject him, you got to be on watch that the league might go, okay, well, you didn't get ejected, so you're getting suspended for the next game.
And then he did it again.
Yes.
He grabbed another dude by the face mask. Yeah. And not like, it was started as a stiff arm, but then you grab, hold, and pull the guy to the ground. It's like, wow.
If he's suspended, they play Monday night next week. Dorian Thompson-Robinson would be under center for the Browns. He is an extremely dynamic, mobile quarterback that would be relevant for fantasy based on the matchup that Mike just mentioned. I want to get through. We have 2 Monday night games to get through, so I want to do it quickly. Najee Harris. Oh, wait, quickly is not the right transition word there.
Very well done.
Najee is
he's so slow. I think truly, didn't he say he put on weight this season?
I don't recall.
I think this offseason he tried to bulk up, and it really looks like it. I've supported Najee. I've believed coming out of college out of Alabama, I thought he was phenomenal.
Let me give you a number. 73% of Najee Harris's opportunities have resulted in plays gaining 2 or fewer yards.
Yeah, and it feels like
2 or fewer.
And when you watch, he's tough. He's big, he's strong. It takes a village to bring him down, but he is not explosive. He is slow. Like right now when he's, running towards the outside, you catch up to him. And then, it takes 2 guys to tackle him, but the second guy gets there pretty quick.
And Jaylen Warren, on the other hand, 4 for 66 through the air. He's very explosive. He had a couple of first downs that he just – it was sheer will. So I don't know what that's going to look like moving forward. Kenny Pickett threw the big touchdown to Pickens.
He looked –
he looked like Kenny Pickett.
He completed 50% of his passes. Both quarterbacks –
this was not a fun game to watch.
Looked like they had no idea what they're doing.
The only good thing about this game was the defenses.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were going to say the Pickens play because that was not good for me. let me give people an update of what happened.
Oh yeah,
because
Papa Josh is in the house. He's fist pumping.
Yeah, he's in Deucer's Alley
he's
over
at a New Jersey rave.
What an idiot. Last night I had Olave and the Saints defense, and Papa Josh had George Pickens.
Easy peasy.
I mean, this should have been a layup, and it wasn't.
You guys were about head to head.
It was.
Right?
It was
toss up.
It was a toss up. All I needed was Olave and the Saints defense to take care of business. I had a 17-point lead. I was finally starting to feel like, because Olave wasn't involved early, finally got involved, felt really good. One play later, 71-yard touchdown to Pickens. Suddenly it's a 2-point game. Olave goes in for the touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
The replay comes out. His foot hits the left out of bounds line, and I see it on the replay, and I scream through my house, no! Because I knew what was going to happen. And I haven't even gotten to the best part.
No, you haven't.
So I end up losing by 5 points because of George Pickens.
Not because of George Pickens.
Well, no. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable.
Tell us.
I traded a good trade.
Yeah, no, it was a good trade.
I traded for Zach Moss.
Oh, gross.
Zach Moss was in my lineup. Zach Moss scored 20 points.
Zach Moss is the RB10 on the week.
He's the RB10.
Yeah, but because you traded for Zach Moss and decided to play him, who didn't you play?
Kyron Williams.
Did he score more than Zach Moss?
He scored 26 points, which would have given me a 1-point victory.
Oh, yeah, Zach Moss caused you to
So
lose.
Zach Moss literally cost me the week.
I got that bum off my roster and I won, and you took him on and you lost.
I traded for the RB10 and lost because of it.
That is, sometimes fantasy is just fun.
It's mean.
Fantasy?
It's
No.
fun to
This
see.
is mean.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, I lost. It's stupid. Fantasy stupid. No one should play it. Amari Cooper 7 for 90.
Yeah,
despite
Mr.
not being active.
Yeah.
Mr. Not Gonna Play.
In the other game, not a fun watch either. Bryce Young looks outmatched. It's why I targeted the Saints D. Saints D decided to give up a free touchdown at the end. My Twitter was filled with people that lost because of the free.
I had a great time, guys.
Adam Thielen, 7 for 54 and a touchdown.
Hooray! In time for the buffet.
It brings me great joy to see him and Zach Ertz force you to make them relevant.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I mean, Adam
I will
Thielen,
not chase.
9 targets. The first week he had the most targets. He is relevant. I'm sorry. He is.
Yeah, but nobody played him this game. And if people make the mistake of playing him because of this game, like you said, it was a garbage time touchdown, where, I mean, literally garbage time. Like, once they scored the touchdown, the Saints just came out and took a knee. It was like it didn't help them.
Well,
And-
the touchdown was he was 6 for 50 before that. So, I mean, he's still going to be a play. He had like 5 catches in the first half.
They did an onside kick. after
Sure,
that.
I guess.
Yeah, they were still trying to win, but it was.
My point is that if you want, let me make you do this. Pick a Carolina wide receiver that you have to start in a PPR league.
It's probably Thielen.
No, say it the other way.
No, I will not, because it's probably Thielen.
No. I just meant in the old man voice.
Oh, that's just my voice. I would start myself, of course.
Chris Olave, 6 for 86.
Jonathan, like, why I'm saying it's probably Thielen is because Thielen had 9 targets. Rookie Jonathan Mingo did have 8. He only caught 3 for 26 yards, but the fact that the rookie already in his – I mean, he's playing a ton, and if Bryce Young and Jonathan Mingo continue to acclimate to the NFL over the course of the second half of the season, we could see some good things from the rookies. Could, but it's
Bryce Young's problem
he's got
right
a long
now,
way to go.
He's not accurate down the field, which is why I like Thielen, because Thielen is close. He's close to home. He can't get down the field.
I can't get there.
Miles Sanders, this so far not so good for Miles Sanders. What's your sentiment around him? This offense can't move the football at all.
The volume is still good. The Saints defense is fully legit. Like, the Saints are a very, very good defense. You go back to last year and the first 2 weeks of this season, they haven't given up much to anybody. The fact that Miles Sanders had 14 carries, had 3 targets, had the crazy volume week 1, to me, he's a target. Not because I think he's going to be special, but people are in need of running backs. He's had kind of a lousy week here, and you can do worse than having that kind of volume. for a talented player. It's a bad offense. There's not going to be a lot of scoring opportunities.
Dameon Pierce, Miles Sanders moving forward.
Oh, interesting. I think I take the passing game involvement of Miles Sanders.
Yeah, I think I lean that way as well.
It's very close. I think that's a good comp. You've got a little bit more explosiveness.
What did he do week 1 in the passing game? Because he was just 3 for 4 in this game.
I think he was pretty involved. I will look that up.
Okay.
And I mean,
that's a close one.
Miles Sanders in week 1 had 6 targets, 4 for 26. So 6 targets and 5 targets. That's pretty solid. His snaps did go up.
CJ Stroud just looks so much better than Bryce Young looks
Currently,
right now.
he does, yes.
Bryce Young last night, it was like he passed for 153 yards. I'd love to know what the number was on the final drive where they just gave him if you saw that drive, it was every play was a 9-yard dump off to Chuba Hubbard or somebody underneath. Chuba Hubbard's getting a lot of play.
Yeah, I was going to bring up Chuba.
Which is why I'm kind of concerned about Miles.
Not only is he's getting some snaps and some opportunity. That's now 2 weeks in a row that Chuba looks good. He looks very fast. It was only 2 carries, but it was 16 yards on the ground. He had a bunch of big runs in week 1 as well. 5 catches for Chuba. So he's a player, a lower level running back that I think could start eating more into Miles Sanders' workload.
I think the truth is they're just trying to take the ball, out of the rookie's hands a lot and use the running backs because Chuba's, he was only 36% week 1, 37% of the snaps week 2. But when he's on the field, they're using him because they're using the running game as much as they can, or the running backs in the passing game. So I think he is definitely one of those insurance running backs that you could pick up as a stash, but I don't think he really affects Miles Sanders too negatively.
Chuba had 4 touches on the final drive. So, they were in a full hurry-up, we have to go score, and Chuba was the running back of choice.
Is he the 2-minute drill running back there?
He could be.
He looks like it. Jamal Williams, hamstring injury.
Yeah.
Tony Jones Jr. came in, scored 2 times.
Who?
Tony Jones Jr.
What? I don't remember his full name.
Tony
James Jones Brooks.
Is it this guy?
Yeah, baby, we're back.
Yeah, he's back on the team.
Isn't
the
there
answer
another?
is Tony Brooks James Jones Jr. is his nickname.
I thought there was a Tony.
No,
there is a Tony Brooks James. That's not this guy.
That's why that Tony Brooks James Jones Jr.
Oh, really?
exists. Yes. This is the one.
Nothing
and
like being
only,
confused by your own show.
the one and only Tony Brooks James Jones Jr. in existence.
So, relevant for today's discussion, we will not have the discussion now because we got a waiver segment. But the running back room in New Orleans, there are options for you to pick up.
Like Taysom Hill.
Derek Carr, it wasn't good. It wasn't a good game.
It was not. He looked
Chris
very
Olave
poor.
bailed him out on a 42-yard bomb.
Chris Olave was.
that catch was nasty.
And he was 1 foot away from a huge game. So
it was not 1 foot, Mike. That was
like
a quarter
a
of an
pinky
inch.
toe.
A toe. I apologize. But Olave's looking nice. And
Michael
Thomas. What are we? At the beginning of the game.
It's me, Michael Thomas.
No.
How are you?
He's got half a decade almost to
I had the same exact line as Adam Thielen, except for I didn't score.
No.
Yeah.
Get him.
Yeah.
He's
those
four,
old men.
he's,
Nah,
four,
man.
he's 4 years younger than Adam Thielen.
Doesn't look it. No, he looked good in this game. He was the PPR. This is exactly what happened last week, if you noticed. Identical game script. Olave ignored in the first half. Michael Thomas was the early target. Second half of the game, big plays. Olave piles up the yardage and targets, ends up with more than Michael Thomas, and Rashid Shaheed has the big play down the sideline. Like, both games were identical. I don't know what the play calling is right now, but that's exactly what happened in both games. 7 for 55 for Michael Thomas.
55! And how about the NFC South, huh?
Yeah.
You got 3 2-0 teams in clearly the most powerful division in football.
Let's talk news.
News and notes from around the league. Presented by USAA Insurance.
Well, the Lions have said that David Montgomery is day-to-day. And then they've said with their actions that he's not, because they signed Bam Knight to their active roster from the practice squad. So David Montgomery may be as day-to-day as Deontay Johnson was before he was tossed onto IR yesterday.
What's the extra hilarious thing being David Montgomery immediately after the game said, yeah, this is probably a multi-week injury.
Yeah.
And then his head coach is like, no.
He's like, I know your body better than you know it.
You will play.
Saquon Barkley, he's going to miss 3 weeks due to the ankle sprain. So waiver show today, very important.
Mm-hmm.
It's important for Nick Chubb managers as well. And there's just been a lot of injury.
You got David Montgomery, Saquon Barkley, Nick Chubb, and Jamal Williams, all who went down as presumed starters. So waivers are very ripe.
Yeah,
Sure.
and Najee went down in another way. So you may be looking for options there too. Kyle Shanahan said it's too early to provide an update on Brandon Ayuk's shoulder. He did not practice on Monday. He's got a Thursday game. So to me, there's a high probability that he could miss Thursday because it affords him 10 more days of rest.
Agreed.
Which could make George Kittle more interesting this Thursday.
It could.
And obviously you're going to play Debo and McCaffrey anyway.
Yeah. There was. I thought that after Ayuk was a little shook up on Sunday, I thought Kittle would do something then, but he still did not.
It was all Debo.
But if Ayuk is completely out and now they have to change the game plan, Kittle should be fine.
Here we go. Adam Schefter says this is not. And what kind of comment is this? It's fair to wonder if Joe Burrow will be available.
He's just saying it's fair.
Yeah,
it is fair to wonder.
You are totally allowed to wonder about that. That is
Thank you, Adam.
Completely fair.
Jake Browning would be the backup quarterback. Here's my fantasy question. Obviously, if we find out he's missing, you're going to make different plans at quarterback, and you'll know ahead of time. But if Jake Browning is the quarterback, what do you do with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase? Are you just taking the kind of like you just play them?
Mm-hmm.
I play him.
I think with a hobbled Joe Burrow or Browning, either way, you're going to get a 70. Well, Browning's probably a 50% to 75% of those two superstar wide receivers, but they're good enough to where you still play them. Just like we saw last week with Garrett Wilson. Sometimes it just takes one play on a special talented wide receiver that you don't want to have on your bench.
Anthony Richardson's in the league's
you realize if
concussion protocol.
No, I'm sorry, but you realize the Bengals could be 0-3.
I have already put in my picks for next week, and I do project them to lose.
Let's see, we got a
second Monday night game. I believe it's against.
It's the Rams.
They're doing that again. The doubleheader.
Yes.
Come on.
It's not
awful.
It's not a good time.
It's really, really frustrating.
At least put them back to back.
Yeah. I will sit down NFL. I will sit down on the couch for 6 hours. I show that to you every Sunday. If you give me the games,
I've proven myself.
I've proven my loyalty to the Shield. But having to go back and forth is so frustrating. You miss so much.
I did the multi-view, and that was delightful.
Because you're on the
YouTube TV.
You're on YouTube.
I did the most ridiculous thing, even though I could have done multi-view. I had my bedroom TV on one game and my living room TV on the other. I just walked back and forth.
No, you did not.
I totally did.
You walked back and forth?
Yeah, I'd watch a couple plays
instead
here
of clicking the flip button?
Yep. It was
just getting your steps in? What are you doing?
Just got to stay active.
There was a lot of activity on your multi-towel situation yesterday. I want to see how many fellow multi-room walkers
I think there'll be fewer multi-room walkers.
What did you do? Did you do anything on the walk? I mean,
no, but just
did you pick up food on the way?
Healthy jaunt.
I can't believe you did that. That's funny.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony Richardson in the concussion protocol.
Yeah.
Jalen Waddle in the concussion protocol. Brandon Cooks expected to play week 3. And then this is big news. Chargers head coach Brandon Staley told reporters there is no timeline for Austin Eckler's return from the ankle injury.
Yeah.
But is he out indefinitely?
This is not day-to-day.
No timeline means indefinite.
Okay.
We just don't know.
Could be tomorrow.
This is, I mean, you mentioned 4 running backs.
Oh, let me add Austin Eckler there.
Yeah, Austin Eckler's on that list. Sean McVay said they have spoken to a number of teams about trading running back Cam Akers. He said that is the direction we're headed. They also came out and said a bunch of other stuff, like they were shocked at his tweet because they had already had discussions with him and his agent before the game, so it made no sense to them that he would say he was surprised because they had plain discussions about what was going to happen.
You can still be surprised.
And then the second thing was that they said this issue was nothing to do with last year's issue at all.
Yeah, no, he's totally cool.
Yeah,
So
He's available.
Everyone
out
should want
there.
him.
Dude, the guy's great.
So Papa Josh wanted to know, is Cam Akers worth holding on to see where
Yes.
he lands?
Currently, yes.
Like, what if he went to Cleveland?
This way, especially because that is it is a possibility. It's not going to affect how I view Jerome Ford. This up in the nether of could they bring Kareem Hunt, Leonard Fournette, or trade Cam Akers? I'm still going to go after Jerome Ford, but I would hold on to Cameron Akers. JIC.
Yeah, I mean, when people have been
Ron.
asking about
Ron.
when people have been asking about Ron, it is really we say this all the time. It's obviously dependent upon who you would be picking up. I would drop Cam Akers to pick up a Jerome Ford
Sure.
if you needed that roster spot, but you don't just drop him because he's benched.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the running backs here shortly. So I have some thoughts on the Jerome Ford versus other options because they could bring someone in. All right, that was today's news and notes presented by USAA Insurance. Learn more at usaa.com/insurance. Quick break, back with the waivers. So you put the TV game, like you put the game on in one room and the game on in the other room. Is this because you don't know how to do the jump button?
No, here's why it happened. I put the first game on when it started. I was just watching the game.
Right.
And then I went to the living room. I put the same game on out in the living room and because I changed rooms. So I'm just watching, sometimes I'm in my bedroom, sometimes I'm in my living room. It's right next to each other. The next game starts, so I flip one of those TVs to the new game. And then it just happened. It just happened, man. And then I was like, I'll go see what's happening on the other game.
Based on how the games were going, did you consider going to another room with no games on?
I actually did leave the house, and I listened on the radio because garbage.
Now, they're in the house, so just to be clear for the listeners, there's not like the perfect focal point where you could see both televisions.
They are literally on the same wall on opposite sides.
So
you got to go around the wall.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's I put in the
He
work.
did his steps. He got his steps yesterday.
It's ridiculous.
Here we go.
Welcome to the Waiver Wire, presented by NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube and YouTube TV.
All right, I think it makes the most sense to start at the running back position here in the waiver wire, and then we'll go to wide receivers. But we just talked about it. Jerome Ford is available in the majority of leagues, and so I think for the majority of people, he will be the number one ad.
Yeah.
He looked good. He was a workhorse in college. He had 18 touches, and the only reason he came off the field for the Pierre Strong touchdown was because he had just run, I believe, 69 yards.
Yeah.
And fell down.
Well, and on the play, he definitely ran more than the yards.
69. Yeah,
I mean,
he laterally.
He must have ran 90 to 100 yards.
And dove in the end zone, and I believe it was called a touchdown on the play. So, I mean, it was an awesome play, but dude was tired.
Yeah.
So
that was come on, just give him. Ref.
I know, that's
just give him the touchdown.
Yeah.
There should be one bonus timeout given
Yes.
to the teams per week. It's called the fantasy timeout.
Yeah, ooh,
And
okay.
it's given to the teams to let the guy who just did the long run rest so that he can come back in for the next play.
During that
You're onto
timeout,
something here.
that timeout, though, both offense and defense have to line up ready. You're not allowed to come to the sideline, talk things through.
Yeah. Only that
someone
one guy.
runs out a chair. And whoever it is who's exhausted from the play before gets a timeout.
Maybe some fans or a spritzer.
Absolutely. Someone spray bottle
water bottle guy.
bringing him some water, maybe a back rub. It's
yeah.
a little hard with the shoulder pads,
He
but you can
sits
work.
in the position he would be lined up in.
Oh, yeah. And
Everyone
then,
else stays lined up.
The 60 seconds is over. Guy takes a chair, goes. Play resumes.
Yeah. I like this.
This is way better than the overlapping.
You don't
Monday
need
night
Pierre
games.
Strong. No offense, Pierre. Let's let Jerome Ford get the score.
His celebration it upset me.
Pierre Strong?
Yeah,
Because he was too happy?
Because he got absolutely wrecked on his first attempt. I mean, like I haven't seen a running back get stonewalled like this in a long time. Then he gets in, and you're like, Pierre, it was 1 yard. Jerome Ford did all the work. Go give him the ball.
So the running back room, this is your biggest waiver wire storyline. Jerome Ford, for a lot of people, like I said, the most available. If you are in a league with Kyren Williams, he is above Jerome Ford for me.
Everyone is in a league with Kyren, but if he's on your waivers, if
That's
he's
a good.
available,
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, I just want clarity here.
Or did you mean like playing fantasy football with Kyren?
Sorry.
He is shockingly available in about 40% of leagues still. I know he was a big waiver wire pickup last week, but if people didn't believe,
these are sleeper roster percentages. By the way.
So absolutely check to see if Kyren is there.
The reason
I'm
being,
Kyren over Jerome Ford personally.
And that's just because for me, I'm more assured that the Rams aren't adding a body in the backfield. I think Kyren's our guy. And I think Jerome Ford's probably Cleveland's guy.
Agreed.
I think Kareem Hunt is washed and they're not bringing him back. I think Leonard Fournette is washed and he's not worth an ad. But I don't know. I don't know if they would trade for somebody. This is a Stefanski offense. This is an offense that was predicated on Nick Chubb and the running game.
And Kyron's getting those targets. So I agree. Kyren is over Jerome.
Would you rather have Jerome over Zach Moss?
Oh,
Of course I would. But ask Mike.
I
genuinely would.
I'll take Jerome Ford, because here's the thing with Zach Moss is Jonathan Taylor going to be back as soon as he is available, because he was proper short-term IR. I can't remember, but he's missing the 4 games, and we're presuming that Jonathan Taylor and the fight with the Colts will continue. Maybe they rectify the situation and they trade him, or somehow Jonathan Taylor says, I'm not even going to play for the Colts. But there is a chance that Jonathan Taylor comes back, and if that happens, then Zach Moss is completely irrelevant. It's not like if Cleveland adds a player for the committee, Jerome Ford, I believe, will still be the number 1 of the committee. So I'm going Jerome Ford over Moss.
100%. You brought this up, Mike, in clarity earlier in the season, but if Jonathan Taylor were to sit out the season, his contract will not toll if he stays on the pup. He has to come back. So I think in week 5, Jonathan Taylor's playing football. Now, it might not be for the Colts, but I think in week 5,
there's a chance it will be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So let's go first 3, next 3, because it sounds like it's a consensus: Kyren, Ford, Moss, potentially.
Yeah.
But the next 3 names off the board, how would you put them in order? I want to give the listeners a little bit more of a structure here in the waiver show of who you'd actually prioritize. So what's your next 3?
To me, the next one is Matt Breida, personally.
Interesting.
Matt Breida, Saquon is going to be out a few weeks, and if you have to have a start this week, I don't love Matt Breida. He's playing in San Francisco against a great running defense, and Matt Breida is just a guy, and the Giants' offense, despite coming back against the Arizona Cardinals, has not looked good this year. However, the timeline given right now is that Saquon is expected to miss 3 weeks. If he does, he is a true volume starter for 3 weeks. That's important. Even if you need to play him this week against San Francisco, you're not going to get a 0. The following weeks against Seattle at home and against the Miami Dolphins, who have been carved up on the ground. So you've got a path for relevance here for Matt Breida. He would be my next man up.
Are you including Justice Hill, who's rostered at sleeper 58% is what we're seeing? Is Justice Hill included in that discussion, or are you just assuming that Hill's not there?
The Justice Hill Gus Edwards combination, I'm assuming that they are gone in most leagues. I would take Justice Hill ahead of Matt Breida because Justice Hill's the rest of season.
Sure. The Matt Breida Craig Reynolds discussion, I think, is difficult because we've seen Craig Reynolds be very relevant for the Detroit Lions, and at least in that game that they didn't have a chance to change how the structure and the plan was going to be for Jahmyr Gibbs, Craig Reynolds came in and was David Montgomery. Like, he was getting all of that work. He gets to play the Falcons, Green Bay, Carolina. It's a little more messy because the report from New York is they've said expect 3 weeks, or at least the beat reporters are saying that. For David Montgomery, is he day-to-day? Is he out multiple weeks? If I knew for sure that that Montgomery's going to miss, say, 2 weeks, I would prioritize Reynolds over Matt Breida.
I feel like that's a really hot take.
Reynolds over Breida?
Yeah. He only had 4 touches in that game after Montgomery left, and this is not a situation where I'd want to mess with the uncertain volume of a second option in Detroit.
I think Matt Breida is a pretty big maybe as well. Like, what is the timeshare with the rest of the guys on the roster.
It's better than Reynolds, but it's maybe a worse situation with the line. What we do on the waiver rankings, so if you go to the website, thefantasyfootballers.com, we do mark, there's kind of two categories of players you pick up. And that's what can make this segment confusing for some, which is that there are players to pick up and stash. Players that you want to put on your lineup. You don't need a start, so you're going to prioritize, like to me, that's Roshan Johnson. That's Jalen Warren. Those are players, Devon A-Chain. Those are players that you put on your roster and you wait and see what happens. Roshan looked great again, didn't get a lot of work. The offense looks terrible. I still think he is somebody to stash. Jalen Warren, his time could be coming very soon.
It could.
He's under 50% roster. But the spot start players, certainly Justice Hill and Gus Edwards above all else in that next group, and then Matt Breida, Craig Reynolds would fall into that category. And then you'd be looking at the New Orleans running backs, which is that's a really tough situation because you're going to get you got 1 week, right?
Yep.
Because Alvin Kamara's coming back, Jamal Williams is injured, and then you have an injured Kendre Miller, and then Tony Jones looked awful. He just scored twice. I'm ignoring that.
Yeah.
What? I'm ignoring that team for 1 week.
Not me. I am picking up Kendre Miller. Kendre Miller didn't practice week 1. Kendre Miller was a limited participant in practice all week 2. He was very close to being active for the game. They decided to give him another week of rest. If Jamal Williams is gone and Kendre Miller is active, Kendre Miller is a great player. And if Kamara's not there and Jamal Williams is not there, Kendre Miller, I think, is someone that
could you bet he would get more touches than Tony Jones?
100%. If he's active, I think he would he would get more touches. Now, it's not a guarantee that he is active, so it's a risk when you pick him up. But I think the upside is worth the risk. Plus, I think that if he comes out and has a good game, because this is a very talented, highly drafted running back who is, I believe, the running back of the future for this team. This isn't like a Tony, James Jones, Brooks, whoever situation where he was elevated from the practice squad last minute because of injuries and then looked bad in the game. This is the guy they want to be the future of their team. If Jamal Williams ends up missing, we don't know the details on his hamstring, but let's say he misses 3 weeks, which is common for a hamstring. When Kamara comes back, he's going to be the dude. But Kamara's always shared the load. He's always given enough volume to someone else. If Kendre Miller is the 1B and Jamal Williams isn't there, I like the talent. So I'm willing to take a shot at picking up Kendre Miller on waivers this week, knowing that I might have to still make another transaction before this Sunday if Kendre's not active.
Okay, so you're saying you're targeting Kendre Miller regardless, but you're not talking about it from the position of you lost Nick Chubb and you need a running back right now to go. I would absolutely
have Kendre Miller in my list of waiver pickups. He's not the guy I'm targeting. I'm targeting Ford first and these other guys we've talked about who have more known health and volume. But certainly Kendre Miller, I believe, should be on everybody's pickup.
And for those at home that use the FAB system and not the waiver priority, how are you guys handling Kyren Williams? If he somehow is still on your waiver wire, I feel like I'm being really, I know your league. So that when people ask us for FAB amounts, it can be very difficult because it's know your league. What are the tendencies of the other players? Who really needs a running back? But I would be overly aggressive to the point of close to a full FAB dump for Kyren Williams and Jerome Ford.
I would be close to I'd be 85 of my 100 if I had it all for both of those players.
Yeah, that's how I lean too.
Yep.
Drop candidates, though. You have to drop someone to pick someone up. So Cam Akers. I would be dropping him to pick up any of those top options for sure.
The top options, I would be willing to do it. Someone like Kendre Miller, who I like, I probably would hold on to Cam over Kendre.
Would you really?
Yeah, because
the odds that Cam lands somewhere and produces seem so dramatically low for me.
If it wasn't for the Browns' specific situation, that's like the one spot, and I think you'll know it this week.
He's not coming in there to be the workhorse, though.
I think if they were to trade for Cam Akers, he would be the one.
Oh man,
not the workhorse.
I think Jerome Ford would still be the player I'd rather have.
Really?
Why would Cam Akers get that job?
Eileen Ford would be the guy no matter what.
Khalil Herbert, you dropping him?
No. He's the starter.
No, yeah.
These are names that came up, right,
Yeah,
Brooks?
no.
Do not drop. Everyone out there, do not drop Khalil Herbert.
Zach Charbonnet.
If you have to make a move right now because you need a guaranteed volume running back,
Kendre Miller or Zach Charbonnet, Jason?
Charbonnet.
I would take Kendre Miller for the chance that he gets to be the dude this week.
Would you drop Jamal Williams knowing that?
Yes.
Okay, so with Kamara coming back.
Yep.
Samaje Perine, we done with that?
Yeah, I'm fine moving on from Samaje.
Sure.
The wide receiver room. Oh, boy. Nico Collins right now leads all wide receivers in intermediate targets and receiving yards. He was 7 for 146 and a touchdown, and he rests atop my free agent acquisitions at wide receiver. Is that where you guys are at as well?
Yes, yeah, I'd agree.
The nice thing about Nico Collins is I don't look at Tank Dell's involvement as any potential negative to him.
No, they're different players.
They're very different players. So Nico Collins, to me, I think if C.J. Stroud look, the game scripts, what's Houston going to be in?
Negative game script.
All year long. Their offensive line is a problem, but they've been able to dink and dunk and find this intermediate stuff. So Nico is what's the fab budget you'd spend on Nico right now through 2 weeks? As in, that's another way of saying how much do you believe?
Yeah, for me, I'm in on Nico. I believe he's going to be a relevant flex-style option, so I'm willing to spend around 10% of my fab. Like for wide receivers, I don't usually go hard in the paint. I'm not one that is going to ever drop, unless there's like Puka, who's a rookie who does something that no rookies have ever done, and you go, oh, man, I want to take a shot at that. Nico, to me, is like a 10 to 15%.
What about a rookie who outsnapped Nico Collins and had 10 targets and was 7 for 72 and a touchdown?
This would be
That's Tank Dell.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that that's a reason to avoid Nico or to avoid the whole situation not knowing where they're going. But C.J. Stroud, I don't know if you saw this, Mike, most passing yards ever through a rookie first two starts.
He has 109 dropbacks through 2 games. That is tied for the third most of any quarterback through 2 weeks.
They're letting him rip it
in the last decade.
But I'm being pretty aggressive after Nico and Tank.
I would spend more than 10% on Nico because I think you can start him every week.
Yeah, I agree. I'd push over 15 for Nico.
Yeah, probably 15 to 20. And then Tank Dell, that's more of a 5 to 10 for me. Looking at the other options, Tutu Atwell, 32% rostered, had another big game, 9 targets, 7 for 77.
He looks great out there.
Yeah, he does. He's a second-round pick. That's one thing I want to remind people of. He was a second-round pick we all rolled our eyes at. We were shocked that they made the investment on an undersized Tutu Atwell, but you're starting to see this.
Yeah, these tiny guys.
I mean, you've got
jitterbugs.
Zay Flowers and Tank Dell and Tutu Atwell.
Josh Downs.
Yeah. So there are players getting involved that are more undersized. In the offseason, we reflected on this, the average weight and height of wide receivers has gone down.
This was one of Mike's things to remember. Was it the things I believe that was a things to remember episode in the offseason of the NFL's changing. The wide receiver weight is going down.
Do you believe in Josh Reynolds? Josh Reynolds available in 80% of leagues, 5 for 66 and 2 touchdowns. Amon-Ra might have a turf toe injury.
That is the thing that is the tiebreaker for me. Josh Reynolds is a fine start in my opinion. If this is a team that's at home this week, they are against the Atlanta Falcons. You say, okay, they're going to score 25-plus points. The wide receiver for that team should be rostered, should be played in fantasy. But when you add in the fact that Amon-Ra St. Brown, they have not come out and said he has turf toe, but you watch what happened. You watch the injury, the play. It's exactly what always causes turf toe. They put a steel plate in his shoe during that game, which is what you do for turf toe. So, I mean, like, he's got turf toe. We know it. They just haven't said it. When that happens, players' performance, it just takes a small step down. I don't think Amon-Ra, if he's active, I don't think you're going to not play him because of that, but it just means Josh Reynolds is more important to this offense, and so I'm fine taking a shot at a week, 1 week start here for Josh Reynolds. Would
you drop Jahan Dotson or Zay Jones for Nico Collins, Tutu Atwell, Josh Reynolds, Tank Dell?
Not Dotson. Zay Jones, perhaps.
Zay Jones for Nico, I would do.
Yeah. I would do that. It's the the Zay Jones injury, we still I think we're looking for an update. Kyle, I don't know if anything has come out about that. We might have to wait till tomorrow.
Was it his knee?
I think that's what it was. But
he was in there late in the game.
It was, but then
questionable with a knee injury.
But then after the game, they've kind of said, yeah, we might have to look at this.
It feels a little bit roulette-like with the non-Ridley options in Jacksonville now with Evan Ingram and Zay Jones and Christian Kirk.
Zay Jones was, again, a Chris Olave step away from multiple touchdowns.
There were 4.
It's hard to goose with as many targets as he had, but he did it.
Yeah, he did.
There were 4 plays that were couldn't get 2 feet down from Trevor Lawrence. Okay, so not Dotson, though.
No, I'd still hold Dotson.
Jaden Reed, rookie wide receiver for the Packers. I am not that interested. He was 4 for 37 with 2 touchdowns. I think he's a good player, but I do expect Christian Watson to come back, and it's hard for me to look at the rookie, maybe 3rd or 4th in the pecking order. There was no Aaron Jones in this game, no Christian Watson in this game. I'm not willing to invest fab on him, but I'm willing to put a waiver claim in to wait and see.
Yeah, I'd like him to be a stash on my bench. This week he plays against the New Orleans Saints. I just talked about what a difficult matchup that is for pretty much all positions. The Saints defense is very legit, but when you've got a rookie who in week 2 has a monstrous game, is very involved, and he's got a 34% targets per route run, that's one of the most sticky/telling stats of future success. For a rookie, especially a highly drafted rookie, Jaden Reed should be. I agree. Christian Watson's going to come back, and that means that Jaden Reed will probably be less involved, just be kind of more the slot player for this team. But he should be rostered and stashed.
Well, put the rookies in order in terms of who you're interested in. Then with Jaden Reed, Tank Dell, and Marvin Mims, Marvin Mims was 2 for 113 and a touchdown.
That's my order.
Mims is the bottom.
Yeah, 5 routes.
Yeah, Jaden Reed, Tank Dell, Marvin Mims. I love Marvin Mims. I love his talent.
Performance should lead to more opportunity. That's always what happens with rookies.
Obviously 2 for 113 and a touchdown. He was unbelievable on his 5 routes.
Okay.
Yeah, it should, but the other guys are already doing it in terms of getting all the snaps and the targets.
Any more stash names you want to throw out there? Rashid Shaheed with another good week.
Yeah, that guy is he's an electric player. The only other one I would highlight would be you got to monitor the Odell Beckham Jr. ankle injury. They say he's fine.
Yeah, they said it's not going to affect his availability.
So it's probably nothing, but Rashad Bateman, he was the guy who kind of stepped in for the Odell Beckham role when Beckham was missing snaps. So if somehow Beckham is more injured than they are letting on, Bateman becomes an intriguing type of a player.
It's funny because I was going to ask you if you'd cut Bateman for all of these free agent options at wide receiver, because that's going to be
top
he
was
drafted, so people have to make a call on Rashad Bateman.
If Nico, Tank, even Tutu.
Yeah,
what a world we live in.
That's how I feel too. I think I'd be ready to move on from Rashad Bateman.
Yeah, and if you need a start this week, I would rather start Josh Reynolds. And then the question, so those top 3, yes, a start in Josh Reynolds, yes. And then the real question to me is Jaden Reed. And I think I'd rather stash Jaden Reed than stash Bateman. So after that, I want Bateman on my roster. If he was dropped to the waivers, I would look to pick him up if I've got a player worse than this to drop. But, yeah, I would rather have those players.
Tight end free agent options. Hunter Henry, if he's out there, 50% of leagues right now, 6 for 52 and a touchdown. Their offense seems very predicated on getting the ball to the tight end position, so he is the top target.
Yeah, he has been awesome. He was start of the week last week. Now he's got the Jets this week, and that can seem really, really scary. So far through 2 weeks, the tight end position has been okay against the Jets. So it's not one of those where they've been shutting that down. I think you could still keep rolling Hunter Henry. You don't expect what happened this last week. The Miami Dolphins over the last 2 seasons, this 2 weeks and last year, are the worst of the worst against tight ends, so it was very predictable. I don't expect him to have a great game against the Jets, but I would pick him up. I think he's going to have a solid season, so he's the number 1 pickup to me at the tight end position.
Mr. Sam Laporta, rookie tight end, is doing work. 19.6% targets per route run through 2 games, 5 for 63 on 6 targets. And look, Amon-Ra, we just talked about
his teammate definitely does not have turf toe.
Yeah, look, Sam Laporta is a player you should be targeting.
Agreed.
So much better than Dalton Kincaid.
And let's talk about Zach Ertz, guys. Zach Ertz is the number 1 in targets per game at the tight end position.
Okay.
He is number 1 in target share on the roster.
Okay.
In the NFL.
These are sounding good.
He is number 2 in air yard share.
Ooh, he's getting air yards
So
down the field.
He was 6 for 56 in against New York. He was just missed on a long touchdown. Zach Ertz, I'm sorry if you want to use an old man voice. Zach Ertz is relevant for fantasy.
I actually just looked, and I see his Week 3 line. It's already been published. His Week 3 line, he's got 11 targets. That is awesome. Actually, with 7 receptions, very good. 23 yards. So if you're in a full PPR against the Dallas Cowboys,
so
then
9.5 points in a full PPR.
in a full
Wow.
PPR, yeah, no, it's not
That's
bad.
good.
I mean, against the Dallas Cowboys, they're going to use him as the safety
Yeah,
blanket,
I mean,
but he's not going to do anything special.
You could do
It's-
so much worse than Zach Ertz at tight end,
yes,
like Kyle Pitts.
for sure.
So
oh
yes,
man,
look
Did-
right here,
can you
right here,
imagine-
right here, right here. Drop Kyle Pitts for Zach Ertz.
Oh, my.
Drop him. Drop Kyle Pitts for Zach Ertz.
Screenshot that.
Do it.
I
am a
Go to Mike's camera.
I am
Go to Mike's camera.
staunchly opposed to
Look
Zach
at no,
Ertz.
right here. What are you doing?
I am so opposed to Zach Ertz, and yet that might be the right
you
thing
gotta
to do.
say it. You gotta say it.
No,
Right here.
No, I will
Right
not.
here,
say it. I will
Jason's
not.
camera.
I will not.
Jason,
No.
I hate this.
Drop
I hate what I'm saying.
say it.
drop Pitts for Laporta.
I hate this.
Bail out, Jason.
Drop Kyle Pitts for Zach Ertz.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
It's just the redemption I needed from getting a victory stolen from me last night. All right. Zach Ertz is getting targeted so much. Jake Ferguson.
He caught a touchdown.
He caught a touchdown. He was 3 for 11.
So
There might not be a ceiling to Ferguson, and that's my concern.
yeah, I've paid close attention. I've got him in several leagues, whether he's a stash on my bench or I had him started in League of Record Week 1. I've watched him play, and he is very involved in this offense. And I am concerned he's just not good enough.
His snaps did go down. He was a 72% snap player in Week 1, which weird week, that 40-0 victory over the Giants. It did drop down to 60%. Your boy, the Schoon Man, he caught himself. He got a touchdown, right? Did I dream that?
No, he did.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I want to throw another name out there for monitoring at tight end, and it's not in our list. But I think that's because he was injured halfway through the game, and so you didn't get to see the final stat line. 8 targets in Week 1, 3 targets and a touchdown in Week 2. Logan Thomas of the Washington Commanders.
Do you think he'll be active?
I'm just saying
He's got to be in protocol right now.
he
right?
100% is in
Okay.
protocol. This is why I prefaced it by saying he's a name to monitor at the
Sure.
tight end position for weeks to come because he's the number 6 tight end despite the fact he missed half a game due to concussion. He's heavily involved in the offense. And if you watch Sam Howell, there have been some problems. And Logan Thomas, there was a time when he was really relevant for fantasy, and I wonder without that injury if we would be sitting here saying he's the number 1 pickup because he was on his way to another 6-7 target game, and he has scored. So saw the red zone target. Just keep your eyes on him. Would you cut David Njoku?
For Hunter Henry immediately. For
Zach Ertz.
For Zach Ertz, I don't know.
And what about Taysom Hill? Last night,
That
9
was-
for 75 rushing.
Yeah, he's a running back.
That's part of the discussion for how hard do you go after one of these New Orleans Saints running backs is if they
It might be
know
Taysom Hill.
if they know that Jamal Williams is going to be out, they're going to scheme up a bunch of Taysom Hill runs, and he was
good.
Carolina could not stop it. It was
9 for 75.
I mean, I don't know what the Panthers were doing. Like if Taysom Hill's lined up back there, he's gonna run the ball.
Yeah, I mean, when you get to run as the quarterback, you get an extra blocker on the field, and Taysom is a great athlete. So he is, I think, a very good pickup because if Kendre Miller is not active and Jamal Williams is not active and Alvin Kamara is not active, then I am
Right.
starting Taysom Hill in my tight end slot. He's a running back, but if your platform has him as a tight end, he'll probably have 13 carries in that game if Kendre Miller's not active.
And the goal line
and
work,
goal line, yes.
which he didn't get in the end zone last night, but he had the chance to. Just got stuffed on the 4. Defensive streaming options for this week. Who are you targeting?
Jacksonville plays Houston, but in which Jacksonville, they did okay when you use them against Anthony Richardson, but C.J. Stroud's just throwing the ball so much that could turn into turnovers. If they are
But he has no interceptions through 2 weeks,
that's
which is
what I'm saying.
crazy.
If you are in one of the leagues, because I'm looking at the roster percent and Sleeper saying 39%, if the Kansas City Chiefs are available,
Yeah, that's my number one.
go get them, because it's not just this week. You get Chicago, and then you get the Jets. So if you're in a fab system, I'm willing to juice it up a little bit, knowing that I have what looks like the Kansas City Chiefs defense looks
Well, you
great.
got Chris Jones back.
Yes.
They're also at home.
Yeah, but I'm saying
They're number 1 to me, and then Cleveland's number 2 for this week going against Tennessee. Because
Okay.
Cleveland's defense has looked outstanding, and short of one play last night, they were great again.
Yeah,
Sure.
I would throw
And I
out
love Seattle.
the Seattle Seahawks. They're going to be at home against rookie Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers, and then the Dolphins get Russell Wilson, which is usually delicious.
The Panthers haven't put Bryce Young in a position to succeed with the weapons at the wide receiver room. That's been a huge problem. You watch the All-22, and there's no separation from – Adam Thielen can get loose close to the line of scrimmage, but he can't complete a downfield throw.
yeah, it's been disappointing.
All right, thanks again to our sponsor, NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube and YouTube TV. With NFL Sunday Ticket, it's never been easier to sign up and keep up with all your favorite fantasy football players. For $50 off your subscription, sign up at youtube.com/fantasyfootballers. Terms and blackout restrictions apply. Offer ends 9/19.
Full stream ahead.
Well, before we close the show out, we've got streaming quarterback options. Oh, boy. It's quite the back wall graphic here in the studio.
Are you? Oh, you're a train conductor.
He's a no, that's not a train. That's a locomotive.
I see.
You've got a mustache like that.
and that hat.
Yeah, if you're on YouTube, Andy Schneider once again
He's doing real good
doing
work.
some work. All right, my streaming quarterback of the week is Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield
like it, man.
taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Let that kind of you hear Philadelphia and you lose your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And then you realize they are right now, through 2 weeks, the #1 matchup for fantasy quarterbacks. They have seven passing touchdowns allowed in 2 games. Baker has looked really good, and he's the 3rd highest graded passer through 2 weeks, and he has Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. And so I think there's going to be more points here than you'd expect.
The Eagles' secondary is completely demolished. They've lost so many players already early
By
in
the
this season.
train.
Yeah, the train just
Ran
ran
'em
right
over.
through Philly. And it was like, why were all the DBs and safeties out there on the tracks? I don't know. But that train was, look, stop for trains. They're bigger and faster than
That's
you
right.
think.
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah.
Breaking
Oh,
news.
no.
The Washington Post reports
Uh-oh.
that Deshaun Watson will not be suspended for making contact with a referee for the Browns' Week 2 loss against the Steelers.
What?
So there you go.
It's good to know for the waiver show.
That's surprising to me.
Yeah. Look, my streamer this week is, first of all, if he's not available in most leagues, but about 20% of the leagues, Captain Kirk Cousins is on the waivers.
He could be there.
That is the pickup for sure. He's the #1 quarterback on the season right now, and his matchup is perfect. But assuming he's not there, I think I'm fine with Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford only has 1 touchdown on the season. He hasn't been fantastic for fantasy, but he's been fantastic. Like, awesome. You watch the games, his footwork, his pocket presence, his arm, he looks outstanding. Puka Nuclear is has been great. I wanted to go Puka in a Cooper Cup, but
King Puka.
He's King Puka. Oh man, Mike. He's been really good.
Stafford
he's
has
got
the 3rd most passing yards in the league.
as I was just gonna say.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. The Cincinnati Bengals have not been great so far this season, I think that I'm fine rolling Matthew Stafford, and you just assume the yardage will come with touchdowns at some point. It's not like Matthew Stafford hasn't been a good touchdown thrower. I mean, a couple years ago, he was up over 40.
Right. Well, and they're scoring. They're just right now it's going to Kyren Williams on the ground. It won't always be that way.
No, it'll go to Puka.
Right. Brock Purdy, if he happens to be available on your waiver wire, I think he is a good option this Thursday night against the Giants. 9 games so far with Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey together. They average 32 points a game. That's the 49ers. He has the 4th highest yards per attempt, and the Giants are the only defense without a sack in the league currently. Brock Purdy is he's sturdy.
He could have had a humongous game last week. I was actually really disappointed. He missed Brandon Ayuk on a long touchdown, and he missed Deebo Samuel on a long touchdown, and we would have been talking about him a lot more today had he just dialed in those throws.
And the nice thing about missing a guy on a long touchdown like that is it means he saw the read and made the right call and was like, you know, he was close to that.
Are you dropping Justin Fields?
No way. Not for any of these guys.
A lot of people are asking that question.
Yeah, so that's my answer.
I would not.
If Justin Fields hit waivers in any league that I'm in, I would drop a ton of fab to pick him up.
I don't disagree with you. I was just asking the question.
Yeah, right. People are asking for sure.
It's just like I can point to the whatever this was 2 years ago. Lamar Jackson was having just a really, really mediocre season, and then they figured something out. And then there was a 4 or 5 game run where Lamar Jackson over that time was basically the quarterback one because he has a superpower for fantasy. So don't bail out on Justin Fields just yet. Despite him looking horrific.
Yeah, he's a terrible quarterback. But there's like 5 guys on planet Earth that can do what he does as a quarterback with his legs, or for fantasy that's broken. Like
Justin Fields, who was terrible for 5 weeks last year before becoming dominant.
Yeah, he was a good example of what can happen. Per Jordan Schultz, teams connected with Cam Akers.
Ooh.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Baltimore Ravens.
Also makes sense.
Cleveland Browns.
Yes.
Yep.
Las Vegas Raiders.
Really?
Oh, man. Fat Thor is not getting it done right now, guys.
Well, you know the solution, Ronald. Oh,
it's Ronald
Cam
Akers.
Ronald?
It's Ronald Akers.
Okay.
All right. I don't think we have any other updates. Couple things. We're giving away a Christian McCaffrey signed jersey at footclangiveaway.com if you want to check that out. And also wanted to invite you. This is a perfect time to go to jointhefoot.com and become a part of our fantasy football community. You get an extra episode every week, and you get access to some very valuable in-season tools, the premium player profiles on the website, things like the Stream Finder tool, the Snapshot tool, which gives you consistency for players over time, and a bunch of other in-season market share, target share, valuable resources that are starting to, I don't know, this is like when the superhero gets their power.
Yeah, they're gaining power.
Because we're gathering data now, and we have a couple weeks, and so like the Stream Finder, very valuable for being able to look at and say, hey, Philadelphia is the #1 defense to target right now at the quarterback position.
And for those, maybe you're curious, like part of our process, how do we do a lot of our research? What tools do we use? The vast majority of it is available to people who support the show.
Yeah, we made the tools and then we used them for the show.
Yeah.
So that's jointhefoot.com if you want to become a supporter of the podcast. Tomorrow we have Hungry for More, the Thursday night preview, and Unsolved Mysteries on the show tomorrow. And then we'll get into the starts of the week on Thursday, more matchups on Friday, the Fantasy Face-Off, and the Wheel of Shame. I love this segment.
Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.